a day of destruction. We've seen these pictures that obviously tell us something about the state of affairs, the state of Kenya's democracy, the state of Kenya's governance. These pictures right on your screen now show us where we are. It all started with rejecting the Finance Bill 2024. And as one has correctly put in context, that should not have been a death sentence, shouldn't have been a question of destruction of Parliament or the County Hall office. That will have to be taken into stock. Absolutely clear that something is broken, something has shifted, and something has changed in the Kenyan political sphere.
That's right. And the people have clearly spoken through their actions, James. Now we await to hear from the executive, which perhaps we will later this evening, but I am told now that we can listen in to Helen Aura, who is at the Kenyatta National Hospital. Helen will update us on what's happening.
That we have also been able to see on the streets from the police officers firing live rounds at these young people who actually were not even armed. Though in certain areas of CBD today we saw that the roads were blocked, but they managed to disperse the crowds well within their means. But James, we will be able to give you more information. Kenyatta National Hospital, as you can see, it's well staffed. The beds are all out here. Once a patient goes in, then they're able to assess the triage center to be able to assess also the critical.
Helen Aura there, reporting right outside the Kenyatta National Hospital. As you've seen, the medics ready outside the accident emergency to receive those injured from Nairobi to arrive there any minute now. As she has informed us, the doctors are ready, the beds are out to receive, to triage, and to quickly move. Make that line moving. Presumably there's quite a heavy number of those injured coming right up by the preparations that we've seen right there on the screen. Earlier on, pictures of the county office of Nairobi, where it is on fire, parts of it at least, and the police there, trying to, douse off the last embers of that fire from, one of the offices. We'll have our eyes on the ground there to tell you the latest of what's happening, how that fire started, and if eventually it stops. On the other side, in Parliament, things appear to be calm now after protesters did breach Parliament like an hour ago, about an hour and 15 minutes ago, where that breach must have happened.
And that is, of course, not the only fire that we are witnessing today, James. Earlier, a police vehicle, a truck, was set alight just outside Parliament, and also we have seen cars being set alight in different parts of the country, as well as protesters voiced their displeasure at the situation with regard to the finance bill.
Yes, there's conversations, on what happens next. We do know that the president was in Naivasha earlier today, and we do understand that he arrived a few minutes ago back into the capital city. We are ears on the ground to hear if the head of state will address the nation or will send a statement. We are on the lookout for that. But there's quite, a conversation of what happens next, even as we see these last pictures of medics trying to get and help those who have been injured and transport them to Kenyatta National Hospital, among other efforts to sort of, help those who have been injured, save lives, as you can see the pictures on your screens right now.
Right, and if indeed we do hear from the president, what will be interesting is the content of his statement. We still have not heard from the executive or the Ministry of Interior regarding the deaths that were witnessed last week and the police brutality as well. Today we are aware that there have been fatalities, so we will wait and see whether or not the president will allude to those, and also what the way forward will be. But just look at that damage and destruction. If it's not a vehicle, it is a building. If it is not a building, it is furniture, and of course human life as well has been affected. As you keep saying, James, unprecedented. I think nobody could have imagined that we would be witnessing what we have witnessed today in Kenya. It is an historic day for democracy, for the people of Kenya, young and old. I mean, look at that. Even in the county of Mombasa, young people coming out to demonstrate. And then there you go on the right, a moment of utter emotion.
Right.
Which I'm sure a number of people are feeling across the country. It is a trying time for Kenyans at large, whether people are witnessing this on TV or whether they're hearing about it, whether they are on the ground themselves, or whether they are part of the protesters or part of the support team, as we're seeing. And this news, of course, has made it across the world. People are watching, all eyes on Kenya.
Absolutely, Smriti. There's something with what has happened today with the breaching of Parliament. Remember, this is a House of Representatives. It is the place for accountability. It is where members of Parliament go to make our laws. And in many ways, not just, it's a seat that gives the Kenyan people a voice. And there is something symbolic with what we've seen, the pictures we've seen of that house being destroyed. It's very symbolic. It's an analogy of people saying that they don't think that house has been serving them and does serve them. So there's a lot of reflection on those images. Over and above, the personal, injuries, the deaths that have been reported. There's something that says the Kenyan democracy is in a problem. The Kenyan governance needs to recheck itself. That perhaps the people, those who are governed vis-a-vis those who are governing, are speaking from two different scripts. Yeah. Nothing demonstrates that than what we are seeing this on your screen right now. Across the country, 34 counties out of 47 have participated in this protest. Today, by and large, most has been peaceful. Nairobi has the one that has turned violent in certain parts, with deaths reported and injuries. That tells you something, and that's the taking stock that needs to happen fairly quickly after this. That give someone has to sit down and converge the nation. The person with the power to converge the nation and call the nation to to order, and say, either I've listened to you, what is being said is perhaps correct, or you might have misread it, and this is how I choose to move it forward. That would be something that would need to happen fairly soon, this evening if possible, right. And nothing further than that, would manage to sort of remove the sense of fear and in the air. Pictures right now of on your screen in Mombasa. Our reporter there earlier on told us it was peaceful. We can see still peaceful, like, as you can imagine, the protesters, they're also receiving news of what has happened in Nairobi, and you can see the sense of shock, in everyone's eyes, yeah. Of that news that has traveled, Smriti, as you say, not only just, internationally, but inside the country, right, of what this moment means.
Occupy Parliament has been achieved. It really has been an intense day, James. It is now approaching 4:30 in the afternoon.
It feels like midnight.
It does.
It does feel like midnight.
The energy is absolutely immense, and the determination to prove a point.
So I think two things. I think if we are to sort of look at, we've done this many times, and you before, and if you look at, say the 2010 Constitution, which is perhaps one of, the most engaging moment that this country had in the voting of this sort of new constitution, and sort of promised this new birth of a new country. Participating in that and covering that was something immense. You could see the energy, you could see the liveliness of people. The hope that people had, that we are doing something, we're bringing something fresh, something new, something for all of us. And that moment really couldn't have been captured, couldn't have been bottled. The elections afterwards, 2013, 2017, and even 2022, there are moments where the country converges and it does something to the space where everyone has energy, because it's a crossroads of sort, because people have to make a choice. We're going this way or that way. And those moments really cannot be captured, can't be bottled. You have to be there to experience it. This is another moment. Unfortunately, this moment, as you can see the pictures on your screen there, police perhaps lining up to engage those protesters on this side. As you can see, that line of blue wasn't there a few minutes ago, but now it has emerged. And the police, any minute now, that formation, I do recognize it, is for engaging protesters shortly. Right,
and still tear gas fills the air. Right, those are pictures from the county of Mombasa, but let's bring you back to Nairobi for a moment, because NTV's Zainab Ismail is on the ground. She was in Parliament when Parliament was under siege. Zainab, where are you at this point, and what are you able to tell us?
We are right inside Parliament, about 70 to 100 meters away from where we are. We can see protesters trying to push the police officers and trying to access Parliament. And I would like my colleague John Gatwiri just to give us an idea of the damage that was done earlier on when protesters actually managed to make their way inside Parliament. What you can see down there is a part of the fence that covers Parliament buildings on the Senate side down. And this is just part of the damage that we have witnessed inside Parliament. The sense of security here, very heavy. We have seen members from the General Service Unit, including members of the Reke Squad. And you can see just the amount of police officers and security officials right inside Parliament trying to guard it. I want to give you a picture of what has been happening here and show you exactly what transpired about an hour ago or so when members of Parliament, a majority of them, voted in the finance bill in the third reading. My colleague Jen Gatwiri will just come with me as we give you a sense and an idea of that. Remember, this was the final vote that the members of Parliament had to make before that finance bill is taken to the President for approval and signing. If we can check on my right side, that's actually my left side, You can see a lot of tear gas smoke coming from that end. That is because the police officers are also trying to thwart protesters from approaching this area. In fact, trying to push back, and that has been quite a big concern for the security officials here in Bunge. And we're also making just our way inside Parliament. This is from the Senate side. If Gatwiri can just give us an idea, that's the amount of damage that we've seen. A lot of broken glasses. Most of the windows and glasses that cover the building have been broken by the protesters who were throwing stones. And this is us making our way inside. And there you have it. This is the mess that has been left. That is the aftermath of what we saw earlier on when the protesters came in. This is the Senate side. A lot of broken glasses down there. We can also see that the poles that hold the national flags, they usually have the display in the Parliament building, smashed down against the floor. And what we're also seeing is most of the glass is broken. Jane, if we can just move inside Parliament. There you have it. These are usually the flags. This is a very secure area. So obviously when the protesters made their way inside Parliament, they created quite a mess inside this building. So I'm just walking with Jane as we try and get you to give you a better picture of the area now. So this building right now has been overrun by police officers as they're trying to secure it from all ends. We saw earlier on when protesters tried to access Parliament through the Uhuru Highway. However, that did not happen as there was a lot of tear gas canisters that were thrown their way. And what we saw also was some of the police officers who used live ammunition on protesters. We saw members of Parliament protesting, especially those with the Azimio coalition, saying that they did not expect the police to use live ammunition on protesters. But this is exactly how they made their way into Parliament. And so this is strictly a members-only dining area for the members of Parliament. And this is the damage that was left. You can see tables and chairs scattered all over, the plates broken. Flowers have also been scattered across the room. And we'll just walk in to the lunch service area as well. There's a lot of food on the ground as well, quite slippery, so we're going to move a bit slowly as we give you that picture. There you have it. This is where they made their way. So the protesters came inside here, and there's, as you can see, it was quite damaged. The tables, this is the dining area for members of Parliament, and in fact, members of Parliament, some of them were having lunch over here at that point when the protesters broke the fence and entered Parliament. A lot of food scattered on the floor. Jane, if you can just go straight forward and show you what appears to be the aftermath of the Occupy Parliament protests, when a section of protesters made their way into Parliament. I'll take us through the other part of Parliament as we exit the members' dining area. So in almost every single part of this area of Parliament, the damage has already been done. Those are the pieces of broken windows scattered across the floor. You can see most of the area that is covering this members-only lounge by the members of parliament really, really damaged. And it's quite empty at this point. There really are no members of parliament within parliament right now. They made their way to County Hall when the protesters came in. So let me also give you a glimpse of how near the chambers look like. All right, so we allowed to give you an idea of how inside the chambers look like. However, we have pictures of what happened earlier on. Just a sense of what has happened. There's usually a TV mounted on the wall of the parliament buildings right outside the chambers. It has been broken, and down is a lot of damage. You see flowers and papers, and security officials are asking us to just give them the privacy, so we'll not be giving you that picture right now exclusively. However, we do have those pictures, and Jane and I will be sharing those pictures later on our 9 p.m. bulletin. However, as we move towards, we're going to go round Parliament buildings through Senate and also show you the other part of the Parliament that has also been damaged. We saw a number of vehicles belonging to members of Parliament also stoned. So that is what happened. So let's just head this way. Allow me to just take us through that, and Jane will be giving us pictures, and I'll be trying to get a glimpse of what else I might have missed in trying to really assess how the situation looks like right now. Well, as the protesters were engaging police officers in running battles, we did see some of the protesters who were nursing gunshot wounds. In fact, we saw one of the protesters picked by an ambulance with a gunshot wound that was outside Parliament. And what we also saw was members of Parliament from the Azimio coalition seeking to see if they can speak to the protesters. However, that did not happen. They were calling out the police officers, saying that they should not use live ammunition in pushing back the protesters who are trying to get into Parliament. This is a fire also that was put on. We'll try and verify exactly how the fire came up about, but this is what we came and found right after the protesters made their way outside Parliament. And we saw a couple of them, and they were saying, we have entered Parliament, we have occupied Parliament, and we want to speak to those leaders who voted in the Finance Bill 2024, and we just want them to understand where we came from. And of course, some of them were quite angry, and at some point they brought a body of a young man who had been shot dead by a police officer that had used live ammunition, and of course they brought the body right outside the gates of Parliament, and they were seeking an audience with the members of Parliament. We saw Babu Owino, the member of Parliament, go outside Parliament. At some point, we were not allowed to enter or get out of Parliament, but he sort of tried and got outside Parliament by going up above the fence, and he went outside. He spoke to the protesters, and they were sort of giving him an idea of the situation from their end. And so this is what is happening right now. There's still a lot of damage, but we'll be giving you the pictures of those. But let me take you to where the rest of the action is happening right now. Protesters are still pushing to come back in Parliament. So that is at the City Hall roundabout. Yes, that's the City Hall roundabout. So that is where the protesters are, and some of them are really pushing to come back inside Parliament. But police officers have been really trying to push them back, and I want us to get there as quickly as we can so we can also just show you exactly what is happening.
NTV's Zainab Ismail there taking us through the damage and destruction at Parliament, reiterating what Melita Oletenges had shown us, an absolute mess in there as a result of Occupy Parliament. Now outside Parliament, a clear, bright day, no signs of tear gas in the skies at this point, James. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. It has indeed been a long day, and as you can imagine, people are possibly tired. Just a moment ago, we saw some policemen taking a break, having a seat on the benches there. Well, I suppose as the afternoon goes on, amongst all this damage, death and destruction. Earlier we also saw some shots from the Kenyatta National Hospital.
Yes.
Helen Aura is on the ground there. She has been reporting that more casualties are being brought in, and a lot of them have suffered gunshot wounds. We are, of course, yet to get the final numbers of those who have been fatally shot and those who have been injured. But look at that, on the floor you can see shoes, personal belongings, blood marking the ground.
This is the fence of Parliament. As Zainab was just walking us through, inside Parliament, all the, the broken property, inside where the members of Parliament have their lunches and do the famous horse trading. It's all been destroyed. The members of the public made way and breached Parliament. You could see the destruction that has been meted on Parliament. Pictures they're just showing the calm now, the calm after the storm, because these pictures from elsewhere showing us also that protesters are sort of trying to leave and exit the CBD, if you like, and town. The station is still an unease calm. They're taking stock of what has happened, police regrouping, but obviously tired faces as well. This has been a whole day of engagement from 8 in the morning. These policemen and women, haven't seen any, but I assume they were there as well. They were mobilized and they were on location by 5 in the morning. So the members of security forces are also visibly tired from the whole day of engagement with protesters, which has to be said was largely peaceful, from the first two that we saw and today, until reports of goons who had infiltrated and stone throwing and muggings and that sort of criminal activity started and has culminated with getting us here, where we have all these pictures of violence, which has ended up with occupying Parliament, if you like.
Right, and I suppose the concerning thing is what to expect this evening in terms of what the streets of Nairobi and perhaps other cities are going to look like once darkness falls. Of course, the Interior Cabinet Secretary gave the directive that these protests must end by or at 6:30 p.m. this evening. The likelihood of that happening, I don't know, considering there have been fatalities. People have lost their lives. And on Thursday, of course, the demonstrations continued deep into the night. It's now 4:40, so there's about just under 2 hours to go for people to really stop and get home. And at least from the pictures that we're seeing, it appears that the demonstrations, at least in this part of town, have settled down.
Right.
Across other parts of the town, it may still be quite lively with chanting and demonstrations.
As you can see in Eldoret.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, to your point and to your cue,
yes.
That the county assembly, you know, of Eldoret seems to be under pressure there with protesters on the gate,
right,
trying to breach it.
And also, in fact, these pictures are of when protesters attacked club Timber XO in Eldoret, which is linked allegedly to the Kapsaret MP Oscar Sudi. So there you go, as you can see there, the sign there,
Timber
XO. This is the moment when
it was breached.
Right, protesters charged and I believe attacked the club. So let's just have a look at this. There you go, police within the area, and the protesters trying to gain access. Oh, they're stealing alcohol.
They've made away with the loot.
Right.
They're from Timber Exco, that club that is linked with Kapsaret MP Oscar Sudi. The other side of town in Nyeri, members of the public made away with in a supermarket owned by another member of parliament who voted yes and made away with goods of unknown amount. Pictures there are coming from Eldoret, where members of the public making their way into the club Timber XO and making their way with the drinks.
Yeah, they will indeed make merry tonight. Yeah, it has been an interesting day because what we have witnessed is Parliament being occupied, and also they really have, these protesters, proven their might. They have challenged the police force, who at one point, James, actually retracted.
Yes, we saw in the pictures earlier on of police after exhausting their tear gas canisters, you know, and not being able to use, you know, the water on the tankers. They were pretty much exposed and they retreated. And this point is when, you know, Parliament was breached, because the police literally, and at that point, we have reports that police started using live ammunition. We have reports, unconfirmed, of snipers in top of buildings who were shooting, you know, protesters. That has to be confirmed. But it's at this point of weakness that the protesters, you know, after a whole day of engagement with the police, managed to take the goods. But here's what's happening. From these events, these protests from any other protest that we've covered is significantly different, and different for this reason, that other protests we've seen has been, you know, political, you know, mobilized, and we know the routes, we know how the protest would come out. There's always a portrait of the protester and from where they would come from. This has been largely a youth-led protest. The difference has been members of the society coming across from all sections of society, organizing themselves not under a political umbrella, but Kenyans who are concerned and engaged.
Something that we have not seen before.
Yes, and I think that has changed in that respect. That these protests have been largely inspired, if you like, by members of the public, not by political, you know, competition or political, you know, if you like, divide. And so the profile of what I think should happen after this, is, even as we take stock, is that Kenyans are engaged people, Kenyans are concerned, and the political class really has to find means and ways on how to engage in a much higher sense than what it has done before.
Right, and it is possible. What is to say that engaging with the young people is not possible? They ought to be listened to, and they can work together.
Absolutely. There's nothing that says that cannot happen. So it is the onus right now is in the political class to absolutely figure out what is